So we're going to cover corporate teams. And corporate teams, just so you understand, we actually have a couple different variations that organizations use. The primary thing that we're going to talk about today is going to be our corporate run solution. Corporate run, for those that don't know, is usually an untimed event done on a Thursday or a Tuesday in an office park, and you get a whole bunch of companies to sponsor teams and sponsor people on those teams, and they pay a fraction or all of the entry fee to get people in, and you are using a slightly different sales approach to get those participants to run. The sales approach is usually working through HR and CEOs and trying to get those corporations involved in the event, where a traditional road race, you can have corporate teams and a corporate challenge, but you still have your traditional marketing plan, which is how are you going to get individual participants in. So the solution we're showing you today is more for a corporate run. It can be applied a little bit to some of the road races, and we're actually in the process of ticketing some of the weaknesses of our corporate engine so that it can be applied to a traditional road race if you want to do a corporate challenge. We do have all sorts of teams and social team support as a traditional solution, and then the corporate team engine is separate right now. So just to give you an idea, our corporate team engine that we're going to show you is the one that is for corporate runs. So Eric Cohn, I'm a vice president with strategic business. That means that I just talk a lot and really am useless for the most part. But Matt is here with me to help moderate and make sure that everything that I say wrong, he corrects so that you go home with the right information. I do know a little bit about the industry. I've been in the industry for 15 years. I ran a competitor to RunSignup called Raceit.com and sold that to competitor group, and that went really great, and then it didn't. And so now I'm here and I love it. I love the industry itself. There's so much to help participants and help nonprofits and organizations like yours. So that's why I came back, really, more than anything, is that I just love the space. Let's get into it. Let's show you how you get the most out of your corporate teams. So an overview, the platform itself is built with the idea that most of the companies are going to decide to sponsor their athletes. So you need to be able to invoice. A lot of these events have tents, beer gardens, or tables at their tents, chairs, and other things that you would sell and package. So you build packages of entries and kegs and tents and whatever you want to sell. And the business model is very inverted compared to a traditional road race. Traditional road race, your revenue is, hey, I'm going to get a whole bunch of people to pay $35 to $50, and they're paying the bill. And then every once in a while you get a sponsor and you're like, hey, we got $5,000 from them. All they want is a tent, and they bring their own tent. In this model, you're trying to get those sponsors to bring the participants to the race and pay for the participants. And this is a wellness program in a sense, a lot of times. So they are doing it at an office park most of the time. So there's usually hundreds of organizations in that same general location, and it becomes the social gathering of people that you would never get to see at this office park. So again, it's invoicing. It's designed mostly for corporate runs. Corporate teams are sort of like onions. There are tons of features that we can show you, and there's lots of flexibility. And Matt is the expert in all of those layers to the onions and custom pricing and sort of building it out. I've covered it a little bit already. It's groups of employees. It does support non-employees. So each team or corporation can elect to pay for employees and non-employees. So we do even ask a question, are you an employee of X company? So with that, the company itself can elect to decide to pay some or all of the entries for employees, along with some or all of the entries for everyone on their team. Team administrators are traditionally managers or HR persons at those companies. So in a traditional road race, you get paid immediately. It's great. Cash flow is phenomenal. You guys are getting your money immediately as someone registers. We'll even pay you same day if you wanted to on our platform. With a corporate run, you traditionally are going to get paid a fair amount. 25% of participants on that team are usually going to be paid by a company, and at that point, you get an invoice out to them after the race, and you get paid after the race. So there is a whole bunch of accounting on that where you're going to become a collections department. But for the most part, you're trying to have it's more of a partnership is the best way to put it. You're trying to build partnerships with larger companies in that area. And it's great so that you can actually, if you put on a corporate run and you have a whole bunch of other road races, you can find other sponsorship deals out of that. So you can actually get a sponsor from a normal road race to bring participants to your corporate run, and then they see what your whole organization is about, and they may extend their sponsorship with another event. This has happened in Richmond. If you guys want to see an actual corporate run and you've never seen it, we would gladly host you in June in Richmond. They have one of the largest ones in the country with about 7,000 people right now, and we'll give you as much beer as you want because they give out beer there. It's like a lot of beer. But the idea is, yeah.
Can I interrupt just? Is that something that whose idea was it to start this?
Okay, so corporate runs have been around for almost 30 years, and I don't know the origin of where it really started.
Well, I mean, this particular one in Richmond, is it the city said let's do this?
No, so the organization in Richmond is called Sports Backers, and the city doesn't own any of the road races or any of these type of events. Sports Backers is a pretty large nonprofit that is for active lifestyle. Back to it. Most of them that I've seen are post-race tailgate venues for company gatherings. So the one in Richmond is west of the city itself in one of the larger technical parks. There's probably about 50 to 70,000 people that work every day in this one little technical park. And that's where they run. And they shut down the main roads and they get 7,000 people there. And then there's an open field around a lake and it's a keg party. And that is really what a corporate run is about. It's getting 7,000 people that would never talk to each other, talking to each other. And it is social networking. I mean, you'd be amazed how many business cards exchange hands at these things because they just don't talk to each other unless they see each other at Starbucks. So, other type of teams. So I mentioned we have a great social and fundraising teams engine, right? We actually have two parts to that. Social, which I believe one of you guys is doing a relay event. So the team engine itself is what most of you are probably already aware of. And with it, you can do social teams, non-competitive, families, friends, churches, colleges. It doesn't matter to us. That is great. You get 30% of your participants because they want to run with other people. You can use that same engine for competitive, that same engine for relays. It does have the ability to go, how many people are on the team? Well, we want it to be 4 because it's 4-person relay. Completely do that. The fundraising engine, we do support teams as well. And you can actually tie the social competitive relay engine that we have with fundraising teams as well. So you can force create a fundraising team. And that's very similar to a lot of the more traditional ride, walk organizations. And then we have this lone vertical stack of corporate. You can use our current team engine to invoice and to create packages. It's just not nearly as automated and not nearly as flexible. And that's where if you're like, hey, I'm going to do a corporate challenge in a road race, you can do it. I would highly recommend using our standard engine and just calling your sponsors and going, hey, you know what? We want to have you as a corporate sponsor. We want to give you 10 entries. And then you start building it from there. Then you network into all your sponsors, find out who their HR representatives, and if you have enough sponsors and enough events, then you can look at a long-term plan of we want to launch a corporate run. If you have a good venue, which is a Thursday night office park with 20 or 30,000 people, you can get 5,000 people of those 20 to 30,000 people to show up. It's not actually as hard as you would think. We've actually helped, through the sports backers, bring in organizations that have launched in the last 3 years. I think, 3, 4, 5 of them have just come in?
Yeah, St. Louis Biz Dash just exploded. They actually came to visit and take on Eric's challenge to come visit us and to see how everything was going there. They're in St. Louis, similar to Sports Backers, and their race started out at right around 3,000, and they're at 6,000 already just in 2 years of doing partnerships, and that's with a venue change because they knew that it was needed in order to grow the event.
So again, if you're really interested in going, hey, what is this corporate run? Just reach out and we'll get you to Richmond for that one day It's only going to take you one day. Fly into Richmond. You can see what a corporate run is really about. We'll make sure that you get introduced to the right people at Sports Backers so they can actually network pre or post to discuss how they pulled it off. We'll also be there to show you what we've done on our part. All right, covered a lot of it. Corporate teams themselves, flexible payment options. So when you send an invoice, you still can collect via credit card. They can pay offline with check. You can map those invoices to say, yes, I've received the check, and they will then see that their invoice is paid. Team captains can't import participants directly to a team. We don't offer that in our standard team engine, right? The team captain sends an invite to everyone out on the team that they want to join, and they go in and manually join, right? The corporate engine, the idea is HR goes, here's the people that said they want to be on the team. They can go in and immediately import those people onto the team. Exclusive store items, we can actually set up on the corporate side, store items that are only for those team captains to buy, for instance. So individuals aren't able to go and buy a keg, as an example. And then the prepaid packages, you can bundle as many of these exclusive store items as you'd like, along with how many registration entries they would want, at what price point. So you could do different package deals for every single sponsor if you really wanted to. And they would go in and go, hey, for CarMax, who's big in Richmond, they're the title sponsor of the Tacky Light Run. We're going to give them 100 entries for free, right? Because they give us $30,000 as the title sponsor over here. And then everything after that, they're paying full price. So any employee that signs up after that, CarMax is going to get invoiced. And that's how you literally have the ability to do anything and everything you want. And CarMax can go in and say, yep, we'll pay the full amount, or no, can you set it up so that it's 50%? And then at that point, participants pay 50%, CarMax pays 50% for the 101st and on. So some of the limitations revolve around maintaining invoices and payments. So you have to do a little bit of work. You actually have to do accounts receivable work. That's not always fun. So we do have an automated way to send out invoices, but if they don't pay them, you have to actually resend them yourself, right? You can't expect us to know when you've been paid by a check. So effectively, you have to put into the system who's paid and who hasn't. And those that haven't, you can resend an invoice pretty quickly. We don't allow corporate teams to be deleted. So once it's created for that race year. You can't delete it. There is no team-to-team transfers, no event transfers, and no bib exchanges. Just so you're aware, those bottom four are in a ticket to get resolved, because we believe that those are some of the limitations specifically that would not allow a Richmond Marathon to use this engine. To give you a case and point of how popular this is, the sports backers came to us and said, we want to use the corporate team engine for the Richmond Marathon. And they've hired a corporate team employee that is literally going and selling corporate team entries now for all their road races, because they believe that this is the model moving forward for the road race industry. So that gives you an idea of why we'll likely get this done in the next year and why we see value in having a presentation, so you guys understand that this will impact the industry. There's more and more organizations that are selling corporate entries into traditional road races. So we're seeing that. We're likely going to merge the two over the next year or two. At minimum, we'll fix a lot of these limitations on the corporate team side that will allow you to go, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and elect to use the corporate engine for a traditional road race. So we're going to dive in real quick. So this is an overall setup for corporate teams. You choose if you want the word corporate team. The offline payment instructions would be where they would pay their invoices. Payment methods, you can allow a team to pay by credit card, pay later by credit card, and then by cash or check. And that's in the upper right there. Okay. And then there's some other things like require initial team payment. You can do the processing fee, which is very similar to how participants can be split up as well. Race will pay it. Processing fee will be split between the race and the team. And then the team will pay the full processing fee. Just so you're aware, the team is paying a lot of the entry fees for these participants. So that's why it says team there. Team registration options allow any user to create a new corporate team. So in that case, an HR person could jump onto the race setup and create a team for their organization. force teams to create a code that members must enter to join the team. So that's like a password. A lot of times it's important to do that. That's optional for you guys to uncheck, but I would recommend it just because in the world of corporate runs, if the company's paying entries, the company usually wants to make sure that they control that list a little tighter than anyone off the web finding the race and deciding, oh, I'm going to run for CarMax. That looks like a cool team. Wait, I didn't have to pay. That's why we have passcodes for corporate teams. Force all registrations to join a corporate team. If it's a corporate run, you can do that. You don't have to, though. Even if it's a corporate run itself, you can just elect to allow any individual participants. So sports backers, I'm almost positive, doesn't force everyone to be on a team. They allow you to just sign up for the 5K corporate run and not be on a team. The force scoring, corporate runs are scored. The scoring is a little unique. There's no timing. And usually the team captain says, here are our best times. And they hand a sheet to the scoring table and go, these are the 4 fastest people on our team. And you ran and said, I ran that in 30 minutes. So that's how they score the race. And then at the end they say, CarMax had the 4 fastest people. It's all word of mouth and all like honor system. So it's free. It's literally like that easy to score a race for corporate runs. And usually you get, probably 50 teams out of the 300 that report back what their fastest team was. So most of them don't care. And then you can set up, so the Richmond one does have the fastest CEO. So they try and get all the CEOs to come out and run. And I think it is CarMax's CEO that's always like, he's always like a 18-minute 5K guy, and everyone's like, oh, I'm not going to enter the CEO division because the guy's so fast. Anyway, you can allow corporate team members to use coupons. So you still have the whole coupon engine that we have on the platform. And then you can also disable the pop-up asking for join a corporate team during the sign-up process. So real quick, team creation opens. A lot of times, first year is really tough. Second year, you already know a lot of the team captains. So you might even do a team captain social to sort of kick off and open the corporate run. And that's when you allow team captains to create. You've sort of corralled your team captains, HR people into a party, invite them in, make them feel like they're welcome. And if you've ever done the fundraising nonprofit side, it's very much like that, where you're trying to get a corporate sponsor to help you fundraise. So you're really just trying to build a community of people that support your organization and your event. And with that, highly recommend setting up a team captain meeting to get that going. And then team joining can open at a later date if you wanted, or at the same time. So team invoicing settings real quick. You can auto-generate invoices nightly the week after the team joining closes. So in that case, you can actually have it so that as everyone joins the team, you then send an invoice and it automatically happens. Or you can have it manually so they can go in and you would go in and go, all right, after the race, I'm going to just invoice everyone. Poof, all those invoices go out. In the invoicing, obviously, you see a handful of things include deleted, refunded, transferred, and deferred registrants. So a lot of those are administrative processes that we're going in or you're going in and deleting people or refunding people or so forth. On the team captain settings, allow team captain to remove team members. So in that case, Eric Cohn signed up for CarMax. He gets deleted, just so you're aware. Eric is now deleted from the corporate run event. He's gone. Poof, he needs to sign up again. So if you select that, you need to be aware that Eric Cohn is now on your deleted list and the team captain may have done it. And you didn't know that. So that's one of the little things you need to be aware of, and one that I would like to also see resolved. So if Eric Cohn gets deleted, we have some sort of process to go, Eric, you need to pay if you still want to run. You're not on CarMax anymore. That's something that we'll likely work on. Captains to view add-ons for team members. So if I bought a shirt, the captain would be able to see it. In a lot of corporate runs, that happens, and packet pickup is totally different for a corporate run. So that's something we didn't talk about yet, is that now all of a sudden you have this team captain and you have 100 people. They go and get all 100 bibs and all 100 shirts if you're giving shirts and any add-ons. So they get this huge box. And then they go back to their office and they take care of handing the right bib to the right person and the shirt to the right person and all of that. So now all of a sudden your actual packet pickup is really small, really quick and easy. So a lot easier than an expo with 7,000 people. So that's one of the reasons why you might want your captain to be able to view add-ons. And same with to change employee status for team members as well. So if someone leaves the company, as an example. Race page settings make each corporate team type a tab on the race page. So you can actually have different types. And then on the race page, you would be able to actually build menu items for this. I don't think we're going to run all through this whole thing, I have a feeling, but we're going to try. So here's some of the examples of a generic team type. Corporate team. Can you name a couple other examples real quick?
Title sponsor, whatever type of relationship packages that you want to do. So we mentioned the BizDash earlier. They have packages that include tent space. So you would buy a package that includes a 10 by 10 tent with 10 chairs, maybe just a 5 by 5 tent with a couple of chairs. So you have different packages for team type sizes that you're expecting, and then you can customize what the price point is for those packages as well.
Beyond just a team type, you can also do team setup fees and number of free registrations included, which I sort of talked about. So you can sort of see an idea of what's available here. From there, you can customize different team packages with the setup fee and number of free entries. So the idea is, as he was saying, you could have tiered sponsorship, or you could have different package types that those teams are setting up and selecting. Prepaid packages, their variable package options work best in our eyes, and the variable package options allow you to sort of number of entries doesn't have to be hard-coded necessarily. You can have variable ones. So, and then the other is custom package options allow for discounted bulk registrations. So the idea is a company wants to discount a whole bunch of them, and then there's a cutoff. So they want to discount 25, and then at that point, they're going to pay $250 for those 25, and after that, you're going to have the standard pricing kick in. So that's sort of how prepaid packages work.
And they're also prepaid, so you don't have to worry about collecting that money after the
Sure.
price. So you can say, go ahead and pay us now, and we'll give you a discount on a volume of 25 entries.
Yeah, so the idea is you already know you're going to be doing some collections. The prepaid means you've got the money up front, and that helps with cash flow. So registration options real quick. This was that pop-up that we said that you could disable. A corporate team pop-up that shows up, join a corporate team or register as an individual. The idea is to help funnel participants to joining the appropriate team. The messaging is customizable. So if you see corporate teams, you actually can control that. It doesn't have to say corporate teams. It could be sponsored teams. A lot of times corporate sort of is too rigid. So a lot of people will go with sponsored or organized teams. And the idea is that you have some nonprofits involved, or you have colleges that don't want to be considered corporate. So now all of a sudden you're more inclusive and not just the rigid C Corp LLC type. You can also customize the menu to separate the team types, like you saw in the little option there. And with that, you would have corporate team or community partner, and that's another way of handling it as well. You do have the ability to brand registration with the company logo, so those companies can upload their logo, and with that, when someone signs up for CarMax or whoever they want to sign up for, they're going to see that organization's logo and they know who they're actually signing up for. The team sharing links are recommended and are pretty well defined for the captain to see and how they can share their links as well. And then captains can ask unique information for their specific roster. So they can ask additional questions for participants that are signing up for the race for their specific team. So here's the invoicing. We talked about the automated ones, and they go out weekly. You can create manual invoices as well. And then the big generate invoices for all registrations. We have that, and then we have a process for reviewing the unpaid invoices so that you can go into collections mode and see who hasn't paid. And I believe Sports Backers tries to clear all theirs in 60 days. They've gotten to the point after, I think this is year 7, maybe 8, somewhere in that range, that they've gotten to the point where they have such a strong relationship with every corporate sponsor that they are able to actually close the invoices and know, either there was an in-kind trade for another sponsorship deal that covered that bill, or they were able to get paid in some way. And that's so that they can close the books. So some best practices, we highly recommend getting co-captains for every team. So when you go in and try and land a corporate sponsor and get them to set up a corporate team, a lot of times it's the CEO or CFO or COO or CMO or some C-level person. That's great. They may be like, I'll do it. That's not great, right? So you want to have an HR person and you want to have someone that's pretty active in that organization. So it could be the CEO that's driving it and they're like, yeah, put me on the team as the team captain. Well, that might work for 20 people on a company. But if you have 100, you're like, okay, that's great. But can you put me in touch with your HR person also? So then you have 2 people managing it. And that way the team doesn't unravel on that company and then their experience is really bad. So ask specific questions for team captain. So you can ask any very specific question that you may have of team captains. Throw a captain kickoff party, as I've already mentioned. Highlight the team captain registration setup. We always, for even road races, we encourage walkers. If you look at some of the largest road races in the country, we're not Europe, we're the US. In Europe, a marathon course usually shuts down in 5.5 hours. In the US, a marathon course shuts down in 8 hours. So in the US, it is very common to invite walkers. So a corporate run is all about walkers. There are a ton of walkers at a corporate run. Company t-shirt contest is a great one. You can do other things besides that. I think it was 2 years ago, there was some sort of corporate challenge that they did at the corporate run. I cannot remember what it was, but it might have been like the best outfits at the tents. And then an FAQ page for captains and employees is very important. Most people have never run a corporate run in your town because there probably isn't one. So if you're going to do one, you want to have an FAQ page, and you're going to learn and add more to that FAQ page every year. So in review, call Matt. The biggest thing is I would really, if you're really going to start a corporate run and you're like, hey, we're gung-ho about the idea, just reach out. Let's get you to Richmond is probably the best investment you can make. And we're talking maybe $1,000 of your money to get this off the ground. Sports Backers is, honest to goodness, one of the best organizations in the country to work with, even as a networking, and just they will be very open and honest about it and tell you how it works. They are very open about their organization. Beyond that, we can help you with the technical setup. If you guys are interested in running it and you think you can pull it off without coming to Richmond, that's great. We'll help you run through the corporate team engine and set it up and have no problems with that. These are more or less the review. I'm not going to jump into it because I think I've already talked my head off too much. So, any questions?
So I was the race director for the Syracuse JP Morgan Corporate Challenge for the last 3 years. Question about the RunSignup platform. Do you allow the team captain to go back in later and order what they call hospitality? So like don't make them decide up front about what size tent, if it's going to include
all of that can go
beverages and like all that.
You can do pre and post with ours.
The store option can also be added to the corporate team invoice as well, or you can allow them that, hey, if you're buying this option, we need to get paid, so you have to pay it. Right. Or you can allow them to just add it to their invoice that gets paid. So it's very flexible.
So the runner side is more of the traditional run race thing, and then the hospitality would be
captains.
Store side.
You can do both, actually. You can do registration add-ons so that the participant can add a shirt or add whatever, right? Yeah. You have your company that you want to promote, right? The road event management company that you want to promote, right? You can sell that type of merchandise all you want to the participants, but then you do have a store that is very specific, that is the tents, the kegs, the chairs, the tables, cornhole boards, whatever you want to sell.
Don't forget the bags of ice. Those are very popular for sports backers. I mentioned that, and that was a home run.
Yeah. So you have a lot of things that you can do pre and post team captain setup, and they can go in and add more registrations, more spots that they can sell or give away.
So I was late to the party, and I apologize. I didn't hear the first part of what this is for, but we have about 60 sponsors in our road, and several of them get free registrations, and they also buy extra for some of their extra needs. Is this something we can use to manage that in our run?
So you're a traditional road race. So at the very beginning, I said that traditional road races leave the room. This is really more as of right now for corporate runs, and we are in the process of evolving the platform. There's, I think, about 5 main things that make it really tough to implement this for a traditional road race. So in your traditional road race, you have 60 sponsors. We do have prepaid packages. So you can set up prepaid packages that would allow a team captain to go in and buy entries or buy items. And then the other thing is we do support invoicing. The big difference between a traditional team like you are probably using on our platform and this is it's not all automated. So now all of a sudden the captain can't go in and add to the invoice, and you can't automate that invoice being sent and then they pay it back. In a traditional RunSignup team model, you would set up that they can create teams. Anyone can create a team. You then have a conversation with them and they're like, I want to buy 45 entries. You go, okay, at X price, we'll sell that to you. You can set up a reserved entry for a team, tie it to a team, get 45 entries at X price. Those 45 people get in, the reserved entry is full. The next 46 through 100 are paying the full price of the entry at that point in time, and you invoice via our invoice system if you'd like that company for whatever price you negotiated. That would be how I would do it with our. Would you recommend pretty much something like that?
Yeah, so there's kind of 2 approaches that I take, certain stuff like that, or even people that have one giant sponsor, and it's either create that through the regular team setup and do like the quick and dirty, hey, we're going to just invoice you for this, and here's a coupon, or here's a reserved entry, and you register and it's done. It's very simple because you're used to the social team aspect. Or you can use this as a learning tool. Hey, try this out for that corporate team. And also what we mentioned is you can change the word corporate to sponsor teams or company paid teams or things like that. And you can use that invoicing option as a way to really invest in learning this to then elevate your race to now have from 60 sponsors to 75 to 100 sponsors, and using that engine to grow and help you scale as you try to grow.
Can you give me more information about your race? Is it a 5K, 10K? Is it just
5K, 10K, 100.
Okay. So one of the limitations is the lack of transfers. So you may have people that sign up for the 5K and now they want to go to the 10K.
It's usually the other way around.
Okay, true. Or they may be like 10K to fun run. Is the fun run half a mile with a lot of beer? Right? So I get where you're coming from. The point is that's not supported in the corporate team engine right now. We have a ticket for that.
I saw that.
Okay, so we have a ticket for that. The other one that happens traditionally a lot is employees will forward the passcode to join a team to friends and family. And then now all of a sudden Eric Cohn's on CarMax. And I'm like, I didn't have to pay anything. And then the CarMax HR person goes, who's this Eric Cohn guy? He's not an employee. And let's get him out. And
Most of our HR people do the entries themselves. They don't necessarily.
so then,
They don't even give the codes out. We're giving them a code now, but I'll limit the number.
yeah. So then really it is just in that model, it is literally 3 issues that we have that would really limit the data quality, or the customer service headache, which is, hey, I entered the 10K and I want to be in the 5K, or I entered the 10K and I don't want to do the dang race. Can I defer, or can I transfer my bib to my wife or kid or whatever? So those participant management features are not really there with the corporate team engine. There are tickets that are in our ticket system to fix that.
Can you delete someone that's registered and re-register?
Yes. Matter of fact, if the captain deletes them, they're out of the race. And then you can go, just re-register. Okay. Or the captain could delete that person and then re-import that person on the 5K.
So there is a way around.
Yeah. There's a way around almost everything in our platform. There are workarounds for everything. It's, again, a pain point of participant management. If you have a 10,000 person run or a 5,000 person run, and now all of a sudden you're dealing with 500 changes, that's a real headache. But if you have a 500 participant race, Yeah, 50 changes max, that's manageable.
Can you limit the number of entries that a corporate team is allowed to have and then expand it later once they've reached their max? Then you make sure that they're willing to cover the additional
Yes,
that want to come in?
yes. They can say, hey, we're going to pay for 50. And then they hit the 50 and they're like, wow, I didn't think we'd get 50 employees. We're willing to up that to 100. Yeah, you can up that.
Yeah, so one of the other slides was talking about corporate teams are like onions. So you have that layer that we covered about you as the race setting up limitations on the packages. And then within that, each team or sponsor that sets up their own team, they have their own set of rules within that. So they can say, hey, we'll pay 100% of our employees, but we're only going to pay up to 20. And then beyond that, each participant's paying. And you let those teams be 50 in size, but the corporate team's only going to pay for 100. And many teams inside the package each have their own options. Like, hey, we'll pay $5, or we don't care if friends and family want to join, we'll let the whole team go, or we're only going to pay for employees. And it's completely customizable to individual team levels within the team type structure that you set up in the packages that you set up.
Yes, Melissa?
For the prepaid packages, how do they know, like, is that a link you send them, or is it not part of the whole registration process for everybody?
Yeah, so when the team captain creates their page and they do their settings, they have a manage option in their team, just like you would for a social team. And that's where they can go in and add members, view the members' information. They can even generate and go ahead and pay their invoice that they have there now, or go to the store. And there's also the option to go ahead and prepay entries. So they might have currently no one's on the team, but go ahead and buy that $200 package to get a deal on 25 entries. And the next 25 people that register for that team are automatically for no charge. And then beyond that, it's up to their settings to say, hey, we'll discount, or we're not going to pay for any more after that. And they can go back and prepay those packages, because just like he was saying, sports backers needs to close out their books. A lot of corporations want to close out their books, and they want to go ahead and get this invoice done and paid for, early sometimes too. And so the team captain page is completely flexible. They can upload their logo and view all that information as well. Just see that team link captain at or the team link to then share it internally with their company email to get people to start signing up.
So it's kind of like a subcategory of the corporate team.
Absolutely, yeah, they can manage it.
Is that it?
Great. You have any other questions that you didn't want to ask in front of the group? Feel free to come up to me. I'd be happy to answer anything. Thanks so much, guys.